Hello and welcome to the podcast. So, today is going to be a little bit different from our normal podcast episode. And the reason why is because you'll be used to having ourselves interview lots of guests that come on this show every single week and they share their information about their specialist subject they have. This might be, for example, something to do with the way they generate leads, their social media, their content branding, with regard to how they get more sales through to completion. Basically, trying to harness as much information from these guests as we can possibly get out of them in a half hour, 45-minute slot or so you can implement these in your business as soon as possible. So really good news for yourself. That is not changing. But you might be noticing that this podcast is coming out midweek as opposed to the end of the week. So we're still going to have our Friday podcast coming out with some fantastic guests throughout the entire UK estate agency world. So that is not going anywhere, I assure you. So what I always look for in anything I do is look for gains in the business going forward. So this podcast is no different. So I launched the podcast, first of all, in I think it's about March sort of direction. And full disclosure here, I was slightly terrified when I first launched it. Having a podcast seemed very official and very sort of putting myself out there for the world to see, even to the point where I'd done the hard bit and I'd had video interviews with lots of the initial people who were guest appearances on the podcast. I'd actually had interviews with them over Zoom, which I'd recorded, put onto the YouTube channel. I just hadn't made it into a podcast. It was absolutely crazy looking back because I'd done all the hard work to actually get the guest on, questions, talk to them, record it, editing, all that sort of stuff. I just hadn't basically dragged the sound out of the video recording and then made it into a podcast. So eventually, I bit the bullet, and it probably took about 4 to 5 weeks of talking to myself to actually say, right, you need to do this, get on with it. You've done the hard work already and get this out there. And it's been a huge success. So I can't even describe how much better it's gone than I thought it was going to. I thought to myself, if I got 10 to 20 listeners per episode, I would be over the moon with that. That is absolutely awesome. High fives all around. We're at the stage now where our worst episodes are getting about 100 downloads and the best ones are getting over 200. And one is actually approaching nearly to the 300 sort of mark as well. So absolutely amazing. And I'm loving doing the podcast. And I'm loving the feedback when I meet people and they're like, Chris, I listened to the podcast. It's absolutely great. So please, when you see me, more feedback, the better. Absolutely love hearing it. My favorite part of the job. So we are building and making things better. So as I mentioned, the Friday podcast is going nowhere. Fantastic guests. That is all going to be rock solid as it always has been. But with these things, we're looking to improve and get things bigger and better at any one time. So the easiest win that I've got in front of me with regard to the podcast is just to record more content, because we're getting a certain amount of listeners every time we release an episode. So the more episodes we can release, the more listeners we'll get to it. So effectively, that is what we're doing to start off with. So what we are launching, as of this is the first episode, so here we are going with it already, is actually a sort of midweek learning exercise. And this is going to be kind of short snippets of information that you can take away and action in your business almost straight away. So think about it as a really condensed podcast. I don't think they're going to be any longer than 15, 20 minutes in the grand scheme of things. I'll get sick of my own voice after 15, 20 minutes, so I'll be keeping them as short as I possibly can do. Now, in these, we're going to go through each of the challenges you might be facing in your estate agency business at the moment, how I've faced them historically, how my clients are currently facing them, and actually how you can action off the back of those really quickly and actually get some really quick gains in your business. So let's start with today, shall we? So with anything you do in your estate agency world, the easiest win is just to do more of the stuff that is working well. So to start off with, this podcast, for example, I mentioned already at the beginning part that it's doing really well. It's getting a good amount of listeners, etc., which is cool. That's really, really good. So the easiest win for ourselves is just to release more podcast episodes. The world, the estate agency world has said, yeah, great. We like your podcast. We like listening to it. Great. Well, if we produce more of it, they'll get more listeners going into the podcast. It's kind of like a volume game to start off with. So effectively, from posting once a week on a Friday, we're now going to be posting twice a week. I would say what day of the week it is, but I haven't quite decided what day it's going to be. But it's going to be midweek where we're going to get the extra podcast going out. So we can take these learnings and actually put them straight into our own estate agency businesses as well. Let's say, for example, let's take a really easy marketing example for this. Let's say for every 10 doors you knock on that are on the market currently, 3 homeowners are in, and then one of those says, yeah, I'll consider coming on the market with yourself. I'm pretty unhappy with my current estate agent. You can help me out on that sort of things. So the quickest win we've got there is just knock on twice as many doors. So we knock on every 10 doors and we get a market appraisal. So what is getting in the way of us just knocking on 20 doors? and getting 2 market appraisals off the back of this. So that's the first thing I'd always look at. Can we just increase the volume for what we're doing at the moment? And again, this isn't just, things like door knocking, for example. This is things like social media, for example. If you go, right, okay, I'm going to start off, I'm going to post 3 times a week. Great. Okay, we're at the stage now, we're posting 3 times a week. Okay, cool. What's stopping us from going 4 days a week? What's now stopping us from going 5 days a week? Right, we're going 5 days a week. Now, why can't we go twice a day? Now, you might think to yourself, this sounds like a lot of work, and it truly is. But if you find something that works within your business, you'd be crazy not to do more of it. So if I, for example, started going to the gym and I was like, wow, going on the treadmill makes me really lose weight really quickly, but I'm going to go on the rowing machine instead, I'm an idiot. I should just go, the treadmill's working for me. Let me just stay on the treadmill and just do more treadmilling. So effectively, the first step in most businesses when you're looking to actually get something more coming through into your business, actually look what's working at the moment and how can we increase the frequency of it so we're just getting a better result off the back of it. So for example, myself, we are now posting 3 times a day on all social media platforms. And believe you me, it is exhausting. And so exhausting that I've now hired a full-time social media person to do that for me because it quite literally turned into a full-time job, which is a good thing. That's a really good thing. We get lots of leads through social media. We get our message out a lot through social media. It's working really well for us. So let's double, triple, quadruple down as much as we possibly can do on something that is working for ourselves. So the question I would ask you today is, what is working well in your business? If you look back at your market appraisals over the last 2 months, 3 months, year, whatever it may be, what's the 1, 2, 3 things you're looking at on that list that really jump out in front of you and go, actually, we've got most of our instructions from writing letters, knocking on the front door, leveraging our buyers on viewing to get instructions off the back of it, and actually look at it and go, well, how can we just get some more of that into our business? And that is going to be step number 1. So can we just do some more of it? Step number 2 is how can we improve what we're doing at the moment? So let's just get some more into the business, first of all, to the point where we're kind of hitting capacity. And then you go, right, okay, great. I can't knock any more front doors in my timescale every day. I've got a flat spot on my finger. I cannot possibly do any more of that. Okay, cool. Well done, you. Now let's look at how we can get better at it. So what can we do to improve our conversion from that particular bit of marketing at the moment? So for me, with the podcast, for example, we can improve the message we are doing. So this is another thing that we're trying to do with the new kind of additional part of the podcast as well, is we're not only looking to do more quantity, which is good, but also we're trying to improve the quality as well. So this is what we're doing in our business right now today. So if you, for example, were knocking on doors and you go, great, all I can do is 20 doors a day. Outside of that, I haven't got the time around running my business and viewings and valuations, etc. Okay, cool. Okay, we've hit capacity there. What can we now do to make ourselves better at door knocking? Could we do some sales training, for example? Could we do some role plays with the guys in the office? Could we actually look at what's working, what's not working, what we're saying that works well and what we're saying that doesn't work well, and actually improve that? Because if we can improve our conversion from 10 to 1, to pick a nice round figure, to 8 to 1, fantastic. Every 5 doors you knock on, you get a market appraisal for free. That's a really good place to be in your business. So look at what you're doing in your business today. What is working for you? That is kind of step number 1. So step number 1, what's working for you and can you do some more of it? The answer is probably yes. If you get to that point, you go, actually, I can't possibly do any more of that in my business at the moment. Fantastic. Well done, you. Now let's look at it and go, how can we get better at what we're doing? Now we've got capacity on social media, can we post some better content? Can we do some more video content as opposed to more stills, for example? Can we optimize our posts we're doing? Can we optimize the time of day we're doing it, for example? Actually, can I optimize the time of day I go door knocking? Can we make our letter templates a bit better? Can we add some PSs or some QR codes that improve our conversion over time? So that is what we're doing with our podcast, and we're literally following that process right the way through. So we're doing more to start off with. So we're now going twice a week, which is really exciting, and I'm really looking forward to it. But second of all, we're also improving the quality we're doing as well. And I suggest you follow this exact same process in your business to get some really good wins in the not too distant future. As always, thank you for listening in today. If you've got any questions at all, I'll catch you really soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.